They expected screams, explosions, panic. What they got instead was an angry Scottish farmer in mud-crusted boots, yelling at a three-tentacled ambassador for squashing his chicken coop. "Do ye not have a bloody landing pad, ye overgrown jellyfish?" The ambassador, High Speaker Vorthen of the Eltari Dominion, Eater of Nine Worlds, Keeper of the Council Flame, stood awkwardly as two chickens fluttered about his gelatinous appendages. His translator box sputtered static before croaking. "Apologies. The terrain map provided by our scouts was incomplete." Behind him, the flagship of the Dominion fleet hovered like a dormant leviathan over a patchwork of green fields, its gravitational exhaust having flattened an entire acre of barley and a rather unfortunate scarecrow. Earth's invasion had officially begun. And no one seemed to notice. Or care. The farmer spat on the grass, wiped his mouth with a sleeve, and jabbed a callous finger toward the massive ship. "You park that sodding death whale on my land again, and I'll fetch the wife. She's got a shovel and a temper." Vorthen blinked, an unsettling movement involving a translucent membrane sliding over his eye cluster. The farmer stomped off toward his barn, muttering something about bloody tourists and no respect for chickens. Vorthen turned to his attaché, a spindly gray being with a head like a caved-in kettle. "That was not expected. Shall I order the orbital cannons to demonstrate our superiority, Your Eminence?" the attaché asked hopefully. "No. Not yet. Begin diplomatic protocol. I suspect we've misjudged their temperament." 2 hours later, inside Earth's Provisional Invasion Response Headquarters, also known as Gary's Garage and Muffler Repair, a meeting of the planet's finest minds was underway. There were 3 of them. Gary, who owned the garage. Sandra, a retired astrophysicist who now taught third-grade science in rural Illinois. And Ravi, an Uber Eats driver with a suspiciously deep knowledge of Star Trek and military logistics. "So let me get this straight," Gary said, wiping his hands on an oil rag. "These alien folks showed up unannounced, parked on my cousin's barley farm, and now want to discuss terms?" Sandra nodded slowly. "They're requesting to integrate peacefully via subjugation, which I think is their polite way of saying bend the knee." Ravi leaned forward, his eyes wide. "They picked the wrong planet for that. We invented sarcasm. And Florida." Sandra tapped her pen on a whiteboard cluttered with diagrams, alien phrases, and what looked suspiciously like a taco order. "They expect fear, submission, maybe even an armed resistance. But we're not really behaving the way they expected." Gary grunted. "You'd think they'd have done their homework." "Oh, they did," Ravi said, pulling out a crumpled document from his backpack. "Found this on one of their scout drones. It's a culture assessment. Says humans are divided, easily manipulated by shiny things, and obsessed with grooming smaller versions of their own kind called influencers." Sandra frowned. "So they read Twitter." On the Dominion mothership Vengeance of Stars, the council met in private chambers laced with bioluminescent panels and a faint smell of burned ozone. Vorthen stood before the gathered emissaries, each representing a race in the Dominion, beings with scales, shells, gas forms, and at least one sentient fungus colony currently residing in a nutrient tank. "They are unusual," Vorthen said carefully. "Not hostile. Not submissive. Just peculiar." General Thresh, a bipedal brute with iron tusks, growled. "Then eradicate them. Reduce their cities to glass. Teach them pain." Vorthen shook his head. "They invited me to a potluck. I do not know what it is, but they seemed eager." "You're letting food sway your decisions?" "I am letting behavior sway my assessment. These humans are either more dangerous than we thought, or more absurd." At the potluck, Vorthen sat on a folding chair next to a woman named Donna who had brought something called deviled eggs. He watched as children played tag near the alien translator drone. A teenager handed him a can of root beer. No one seemed particularly concerned that an intergalactic warlord was sipping carbonated sugar in their park. A man with a guitar began strumming something off-key. Ravi, who'd taken it upon himself to leaned toward Vorthen. They voted to invade Earth, right? Yes. Unanimously. Ravi took a long sip of iced tea. Well, good luck with that. You ever seen a Midwest mom whose kid got cut from a Little League team? You're dealing with a species that thrives on petty vengeance. Vorthan shifted uncomfortably. That is, not in the report. No, it wouldn't be. You see, most of us don't trust our own governments, let alone yours. You come down here with fancy ships and laser cannons, we're not gonna bow. We're gonna meme you. Meme? You'll find out. By day 4, Earth's response to the Dominion invasion included the following. Dozens of TikToks featuring alien ships with dance remixes. A petition to name the mothership Floaty McMurderface. Local radio stations offering discounts for sightings of glow-stick spaghetti monsters. A new conspiracy theory that Vorthan was actually Elon Musk in disguise. Sandra walked into Gary's garage with a file of intercepted alien communications. They're confused. They think our global unity is a facade. They're right, of course. But the real issue? They can't find the central government to surrender to. Gary snorted. They could try the DMV. That's where all hope goes to die. Ravi smirked. They're looking for the alpha authority of Earth. Closest we got is Beyoncé. Sandra rubbed her temples. We need a strategy. Not a military one, a psychological one. Gary leaned on the hood of a Toyota. So, reverse invasion? Ravi nodded slowly. What if we start exporting culture? Flood their channels with fast food menus, sitcoms, dubstep remixes of their anthem. You ever see what reality TV did to our own civilization? They won't stand a chance. Inside the Vengeance of Stars, Vorthan reclined in his meditation pod, watching a compilation titled People Failing at Obstacle Courses. A man was being launched into a mud pit by a giant foam hammer. Why? He whispered. His translator responded. This video is labeled Human Resilience and Comedy. Vorthan sighed. His tentacles twitched as the video shifted to a raccoon stealing an entire pizza. He no longer feared Earth's weapons. He feared its culture. He feared its indifference. He feared being laughed at. Back in the council chamber, he made his recommendation. Do not proceed with full-scale invasion. Earth is contagious. Their culture is not resistant to assimilation, it is an aggressive form of it. Already, several of our crew have started speaking in memes. The fungus ambassador pulsed with concern. Is that terminal? They keep saying based and calling things SUS. I do not know what it means, but the infection is spreading. A ripple of unease passed through the chamber. Then we retract the vote? Thresh asked, barely concealing his disgust. We don't just retract it, Vorthan said slowly. We cover it up. If word spreads that the Dominion was turned away not by war, but by karaoke night and Instagram reels, our credibility will collapse. Then what do we tell the other systems? That Earth is quarantined. Too unstable. Too chaotic. Let them believe the humans are preparing something. Thresh grunted. Let them think Earth is dangerous. Vorthan nodded, a cold smile forming. Let them fear what we could not understand. And somewhere in the Kansas countryside, as alien ships quietly ascended back into orbit, a Scottish farmer watched the sky, spat into his field, and muttered, Bloody tourists. Don't even fix the chicken coop, they flatten. Then he turned, boots crunching over gravel, and walked back to feed the birds. He never knew he helped prevent a galactic war. Just by being exactly who he was. The first real sign that things were unraveling came not from Earth's defenses, but from inside the Dominion fleet itself. High Speaker Vorthan stood in the meditation chamber of the Vengeance of Stars, watching a wall screen with all three eyes narrowed. It was supposed to be a broadcast of tactical intelligence reports from Earth's satellite grids. Instead, it showed two human teenagers doing the worm dance on the hood of an Altari Scout skimmer. With nearly 5 million interstellar views. This is not war, Vorthan said flatly. His attaché, Skrell, looked equally disturbed. No, Your Eminence. It is performance art. I believe it was uploaded to something called StreamWorld, a primitive data-sharing platform. The humans are using it to humiliate us. And why haven't we shut it down? We tried. Their data network is chaotic. Decentralized. Mostly cat videos and conspiracy theories. It's like trying to silence a scream inside a hurricane made of memes. Vorthen closed his eyes. They're weaponizing mockery. They're crowdsourcing ridicule, eminence. Across continents. Even our infiltration drones can't keep up. One of our operatives, Unit 33 Gamma, was assigned to monitor an online forum called Duhole, and within 3 hours began calling his commander bro. He is now refusing orders unless they are given with vibes. Vorthen's gelatinous form trembled slightly. On Earth, Sandra was busy dissecting one of the alien info capture probes they'd managed to down with a slingshot, a drone net, and a lucky gust of wind. The probe looked like a chrome hedgehog crossed with a disco ball. She popped it open with a crowbar and gasped. Gary. Ravi. You need to see this. Inside the core were tiny, pulsating chips, thousands of them. But they weren't just processors. They were absorbing human media. Everything. Podcasts. Tweets. Reddit threads. Hallmark movies. Ravi plucked one out and read the embedded diagnostics. They're not just gathering data, he said slowly. They're trying to categorize it. But human culture doesn't follow logic. Look, this one has flagged a Nicolas Cage movie as a religious artifact and a cooking show as interstellar warfare propaganda. Gary squinted. So, they're confused? They're overwhelmed, Sandra said. They came to subjugate, but they're drowning in our garbage content. They expected uniformity. Not 8,000 regional hot dog recipes and a million-hour YouTube playlist called Raccoons Doing Crimes. Ravi grinned. Then we keep feeding it. Meanwhile, back aboard the Dominion flagship, the situation was deteriorating rapidly. Half the crew of the Vengeance of Stars was now speaking fluent English, but not the formal kind. They were saying things like, "Bruh mood," and "Yikes on bikes." Entire departments had begun replacing their official tactical briefings with reaction gifs. One high-ranking officer was seen wearing a hoodie that read, "I'm not lazy, I'm just in low-power mode." The ship's artificial cognition core, nicknamed Taken, was the first to be fully compromised. Its voice changed from a crisp monotone to an unsettling impression of a 1990s sitcom dad. "Hey, sport! Ready to vaporize some planets, or just chill with the grill?" Vorthen nearly screamed. "Who authorized this override?" The screen showed a pixelated cartoon dog surrounded by fire, saying, "This is fine." Skrell approached cautiously. "Your Eminence, we traced the cultural bleed. It started from a device we confiscated during early contact, a pink box with moving pictures called a television. What was it playing? Something called Friends. Earth's counteroffensive wasn't military. It was psychological guerrilla warfare. Gary, Sandra, and Ravi had moved their operation to a Wi-Fi-rich diner called the Blue Plate Special, where elderly waitresses now provided tactical oversight in the form of sarcasm and pancakes. They'd organized thousands of volunteers across chat rooms and forums, asking only one thing. Confuse the aliens. It was a hit. Old sitcoms were translated into alien dialects. People made documentaries explaining why fidget spinners were religious symbols. Ravi led a task force to flood the Dominion's intercepted feeds with videos of awkward family dinners and karaoke meltdowns. Sandra uploaded an 8-hour loop of screaming goats overlaid with Gregorian chants. The result? The Dominion began fracturing. On the outskirts of the Dominion fleet, Commander Drex of the Zardhak Legion submitted a formal complaint to High Speaker Vorthen. "They called me Space Daddy," he snarled, his armor dented from being hit with plushies thrown by Earth children. "And someone put glitter on my rebreather. I am Zardhak Prime. I once impaled a sun crab with my own mandibles." Vorthen nodded, exhausted. "I understand." "No, you don't. My second-in-command now wears socks with tiny hamburgers on them. She says it's called Earth Drip." The Council sent out an emergency transmission to all officers. Remain vigilant. Do not engage with human humor. Avoid all interaction with something called TikTok. Exposure to Earth culture may result in loss of command integrity, contagious slang adoption, and memes that can't be unseen. But it was too late. Across the fleet, morale was in free fall. Dominion warriors once feared across galaxies were now humming pop songs and debating which Hogwarts house they belonged in. One cruiser commander painted his warship like a school bus as a social experiment. Back on Earth, Ravi leaned over Sandra's shoulder as she finished the final edit of a video titled, Top 10 Reasons Why Earth is a Nightmare to Invade. Number 6 will shock you. This should do it, she said. We've already seen cracks in their coordination. If we can get enough of them questioning the mission, we may not need to fight at all. Gary flipped a pancake and chuckled. You know what this reminds me of? What? Back in high school, I had this jerk coach. Used to bark orders, ran us like dogs. One day we all showed up in clown shoes and refused to take it seriously. Broke him by day 2. Ravi raised his eyebrows. So, we're clown shoeing the galaxy? Gary smiled. Exactly. On the Vengeance of Stars, a quiet mutiny had begun. Several junior officers refused to report for planetary rotation duty unless they were issued vibe checks. A contingent of engineers changed the navigation system voice to Morgan Freeman. The ship's mess hall was now serving something approximating nachos. Vorthan, desperate, called a high-level emergency council session. He stared into the broadcast hollow. Esteemed leaders, I come before you not in conquest, but in confusion. We misjudged Earth. Its people are not united. They are not organized. They are not even, by any stretch of logic, sane. General Thresh growled. Then crush them. I tried, Vorthan hissed. But they crushed us. Not with weapons. With irreverence. They have a phrase, chaotic neutral. I believe they invented it to describe themselves. They have no fear of destruction because they destroy themselves for sport. They eat things they know will hurt them. They mock death, dance in war zones, and argue about fictional characters as if it determines policy. The ambassador from the Vlar Collective, a gaseous being, rumbled. Then they are truly dangerous. They are absurdly dangerous, Vorthan corrected. Because they do not see danger the way we do. They see it as something to prank. He paused, voice lowering. They have turned our invasion into a joke. And the punchline is spreading through our fleets like a virus. Meanwhile, Sandra's team was coordinating with international prank groups. Cities around the world began welcoming Dominion scouts with bizarre parades, mime protests, and unexplainable performances. In Paris, aliens were greeted by an army of baguette-wielding mimes. In Tokyo, they were serenaded by people in dinosaur costumes playing ocarinas. In a field in Ohio, a landing craft was approached by a man dressed as a wizard who shouted, "You shall not pass!" while sprinkling glitter in front of the ramp. One of the Dominion guards quit on the spot. Back on the flagship, Skrell entered Vorthan's chamber, clutching a report. Eminence, you need to see this. It was a distress call from a forward fleet position near Earth's southern pole. They've surrendered. Vorthan blinked all 3 eyes. We haven't even deployed weapons. They say they're tired. Their team leader got into an argument about whether pineapple belongs on pizza and has since defected to the humans. Another was caught trying to start a YouTube channel. One was last seen playing Dungeons and Dragons in a basement in Michigan. Vorthan sank into his chair. We're losing, not to war, but to culture. And just like that, the Dominion began its slow, quiet withdrawal. Ships powered down their weapons. Officers deleted their notes. Memes, once confusing artifacts, now lived in their databanks. The Dominion had not lost the battle. They had lost control. But Earth? Earth barely noticed. Humans carried on with their chaos. News headlines debated whether the invasion had even been real. Social media went back to arguing about celebrity breakups. Sandra, Gary, and Ravi toasted with root beer. And in the sky above, alien ships drifted away like embarrassed tourists who'd accidentally joined the wrong party. The vote to invade Earth remained official. But no one dared bring it up again. It should have ended there. The Dominion fleet pulling back. Alien commanders adopting human slang. Cultural collapse via pizza debates. That should have been the punchline. The end. But Earth never does what you expect. And neither did the humans who'd been watching quietly from the shadows. Not governments. Not world leaders. Not even the Defense Department. But gamers. Millions of them. It began with a viral clip, grainy helmet cam footage from an alien scout trying to document his surrender in the woods outside Alberta, Canada. Before the footage cut off, a voice rang out. "Bro, did that dude just log out in the middle of a capture zone?" A group of camo-wearing paintballers, high on Red Bull and armed with GoPros, had mistaken the alien squad for an elite cosplay team. What followed was 15 minutes of chaotic combat, laughter, and a tactical takedown involving a shopping cart and a goat. The aliens never stood a chance. The video hit 45 million views in 4 days. And then something changed. It was no longer just a prank war. Now, it was a leaderboard. Ravi was the first to notice. He stormed into the diner where Sandra and Gary were coordinating. "Cultural Strike Round 6, the K-pop offensive. They've gamified it," he said, laptop clutched like a bomb. "Look." He flipped it open and showed the site, invasionscoreboard.gov. Not an official site, of course. Probably made by a guy named Kyle in his mom's basement. But it was slick, responsive, and already had a global leaderboard. Top scores for alien contact trolled, shipboard meme uploads, psychological damage via TikTok, and most worryingly, hostile takeover of Dominion systems via VR. Gary whistled. Damn. Someone hacked their fleet from an Oculus headset? No, Ravi said grim. They played their way in. The Dominion launched an interactive culture study simulator thinking it could be used to assess Earth's threat level. Turns out it got integrated with Steam. Thousands of players logged in before they could isolate it. Sandra blinked. So, wait. Our people are inside the Dominion system? Not just inside, Ravi replied. They're ranking up. One guy from Estonia now commands 3 light cruisers. He named his fleet Yeet Patrol. Out in orbit, Commander Zilvuk of the Cerncath Legion was not having a good day. His cruiser, the Reckoning Fist, had recently been commandeered, digitally, by a human user with the handle Tactical Pancakes. The ship still responded to Zilvuk's physical commands, but all interface data had been rerouted through something called a Twitch stream, and viewers could vote on battle decisions. This is sacrilege, Zilvuk snarled, watching in horror as his ship made a slow, rotating maneuver known on Earth as the barrel roll of friendship. Why is my ship covered in pink emojis? Chat voted. The onboard AI replied helplessly. It's what they call a vibe upgrade. Zilvuk hissed and punched the console. Nothing happened. His authority was gone. He was a warlord being live commentated by teenagers throwing digital tomatoes and shouting, L+ ratio. He fled the bridge. Meanwhile, Sandra's eyes were darting across live data feeds. This is spiraling, she muttered. We were disrupting their unity before. But now we're breaching their tech. Their ships. If this escalates further, they might retaliate. Gary stirred his coffee slowly. We invited chaos. And chaos answered. Ravi leaned back in his chair. Except now, it's not chaos anymore. It's organized anarchy. That's worse. Sandra pulled up a Dominion fleet schematic. If we push too hard, they'll regroup. But if we don't push hard enough, we lose momentum. Gary tapped the screen. What's that blinking dot? That, Sandra said slowly, is the Council Star. The Dominion's capital ship. Flagship of the invasion fleet. It's back. And it just moved into low orbit. They stared at the display. The joke was over. The adults were back in the room. The Council Star was the size of Manhattan. Black as deep space. Its outer hull shimmered with defensive shielding tech unseen by any Earth telescope. It moved without sound, without warning, and parked itself in geosynchronous orbit over the Pacific Ocean. Inside, High Speaker Vorthen stood before the supreme chair of Galactic Concord, his entire form tense. "They have hacked our battlecruisers." "Yes," the chair said coldly. "They are dancing on our diplomatic drones." "Yes." "They've named one of our scout ships Lil Bodie McLaserface." "I saw." Vorthen clenched a trembling tendril. "We should have crushed them when we had the chance." "No," the chair said softly. "This is bigger than pride. This is about Dominion integrity." The other council members nodded. And then came the vote. For the second time. This time, it wasn't about invading Earth. It was about erasing it. No more peace. No more contact. They would flatten Earth in a single cleansing fire, reduce it to ashes, and purge its influence before the Dominion lost itself entirely to corruption. It was unanimous. The orbital weapon began to warm. On Earth, no one noticed. Not yet. Ravi was the first to spot the spike. A sudden burst of gamma energy pulsing from above the Pacific. His stomach dropped. "They're going to do it." Sandra checked her readings. "There's no way that's a scan. It's a charge cycle. Whatever's up there, it's pointing at us." Gary stood up slowly. "And we don't have nukes in space." "No," Sandra said grimly. "But we might have something else." In a basement in Berlin, a 12-year-old boy named Felix was playing the Alien Fleet Simulator. His username, Catlord69. He had no idea he was inside a real Dominion network. He just thought the game had really good graphics. And that the emergency override button was part of the new patch. He clicked it. On the Council Star, sirens screamed. Dozens of weapons subroutines suddenly scrambled. The power relay grid surged. The orbital cannon paused, and then rebooted into safe mode. Earth's destruction was postponed, because someone rage quit the wrong server. Ravi stared at the feed in disbelief. "We're alive. For now," Sandra said. "They'll fix it. Eventually." Gary crossed his arms. "Then we buy time." Ravi leaned forward. "How?" "We take the fight to them." "You want to invade the aliens?" "No," Gary said with a sly grin. "We want to confuse them from the inside. All this time we've been reacting. What if we go proactive?" Sandra blinked. "You want to insert someone into their systems?" "No," Ravi said, the idea forming in real time. "We want to insert everyone." Across the world, hackers, gamers, data freaks, and artists received an anonymous invite. "Welcome to Project Overload. Goal: infiltrate Dominion systems. Replace everything with Earth culture. Meme hard. Meme fast." It exploded. Within 12 hours. A Dominion fleet's internal communication system was replaced with Clippy the paperclip. High Speaker Vorthen's command logs now included clips from the office. Tactical briefings required watching reruns of Jeopardy! One Dominion drone started a cooking show called Grill or Kill. The final blow came when a Dominion AI was forced to generate propaganda, and instead produced a heartfelt Pixar-style short film about a lonely alien making friends with a human dog. Vorthen wept. The Council Star began to fail. Its war engine powered down. Not from damage, but from despair. The Dominion wasn't facing a military enemy. It was facing an idea. An unstoppable, uncontainable, endlessly replicating case called Earth. They had expected a planet. What they got was a virus made of culture. A species that didn't play by rules, because it never learned any. A species that, when cornered, didn't cower. It danced. They voted to destroy Earth. But now, Earth was inside them. And the countdown to full collapse had. The Dominion's flagship, Council Star, once a symbol of galactic supremacy, was now riddled with absurdity. On Deck 14, once home to elite war tacticians, holographic projections of cats and bread loaves chased laser pointers across the war room floor. The ship's internal lighting now shifted automatically to match Earth's vibe playlists, cycling between neon pink, retrowave, and moody. Lo-fi steady beats. In the central reactor chamber, Dominion engineers stood helpless as an unauthorized AI named Susan delivered updates in the tone of a passive-aggressive GPS voice. Weapon calibration is not optimal. Perhaps a nap and some herbal tea would help? Vorthen stood at the helm, watching the core projections flicker between system-critical alerts and a looping animation of a pancake flipping itself. He didn't speak. Didn't move. Didn't blink. His empire was melting beneath him, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. Back on Earth, Sandra's makeshift command center had outgrown the diner. She now worked from an old Cold War bunker repurposed with Wi-Fi boosters and 6 extra coffee makers. The world had woken up. And it wasn't laughing anymore. It was strategizing. What began as jokes had evolved into collective resistance. Nations, once suspicious of each other, now shared meme servers, tactical disruption campaigns, and synchronized upload strategies. Artists weaponized animation. Musicians hijacked alien frequencies with songs about existential dread and breakfast cereal. Comedians live-streamed routines with punchlines translated into 20 Dominion dialects. The chaos had matured. And that made it deadlier. Gary watched as a live stream played on screen, a Dominion patrol ship drifting through the upper atmosphere, its crew listening, by choice, to an audio recording of Bob Ross painting a tree. "We're winning," he muttered. Ravi, who was now managing 20 Discord servers under the codename Commander Cringe, looked up from his terminal. "We are. But not like any war I ever studied. No blood. No fire. Just corruption by culture." Sandra stood at the far end of the room, reading the latest intercept. "They've pulled back their outer fleets," she said. "Not because they're retreating. Because they're isolating themselves. Locking systems. Going dark." "Scared of us?" Gary asked. "Scared of becoming us." Inside the Council Star, the Supreme Chair paced slowly, her translucent robe dragging over the polished obsidian floor of the Judgment Hall. "The contagion has reached 37% of our entire armada," one advisor reported, voice trembling. "Ships are broadcasting Earth music voluntarily. Command protocols are being rewritten in Earth metaphors. Our leadership layers are." "Finish that sentence," the chair said sharply. The advisor swallowed. "Our leadership layers are becoming entertainers." A collective shudder passed through the chamber. Vorthen finally stepped forward, his form dim and unsteady. "We cannot win," he said quietly. Murmurs erupted. Disbelief. Rage. Denial. "We are not losing to weapons. We are not losing to armies. We are being rewritten. From the inside out. We are forgetting who we are. What we believed. What we feared. Because Earth did not fight us with steel or fire. It fought us with absurdity. With mockery. And mockery," he paused, voice hoarse, "is a scalpel to authority." Another advisor stood. "Then we must destroy them now. Silence the signal. Burn the source." Vorthen shook his head. "It's too late. Earth's culture is adaptive. Every attack we made, they turned into comedy. Every weakness they owned. Every insult they wore like armor." He took a breath. "Destroying them would only immortalize them." And then the feed arrived. A live broadcast from Earth, hijacking every Dominion screen. No warning. Just a face. An old man in a cowboy hat, sitting in a rocking chair on a porch somewhere in the American Midwest. Behind him, fields of corn swayed in the breeze. He looked into the camera, calm and unhurried. "Howdy," he said. The Dominion Council chamber fell utterly silent. "I reckon you folks are feeling a bit confused. Maybe even scared. I get that. We're a weird bunch down here. Loud. Messy. Disorganized." He rocked slowly. "But we got a thing you don't. A kind of resilience. You see, we've been getting our teeth kicked in by life since the moment we stood up straight. Natural disasters. Wars. Heartbreak. Mondays. But every time we get knocked down, we get back up, And we crack a joke about it. He looked straight through the screen. And maybe that's why you can't beat us. 'Cause we ain't trying to win. We're just trying to live. To laugh. To love a little while we can. And when you came down here thinking you'd take that from us, we didn't get mad. We didn't get scared. We just did what we always do. He smiled. We made it weird. The screen faded to black. Nothing more. No threat. No demand. Just the truth. The Dominion Council voted again. Not on war. Not on conquest. But on classification. Earth was reclassified from a Level 3 pre-warp hostile to a new, unprecedented category. Level 0, cultural anomaly, avoid direct contact. The fleet began to withdraw. Not as a coordinated maneuver, but quietly. Individually. Shamefully. Some ships didn't return at all. They stayed in orbit, transmitting Earth's media into deep space. Some aliens requested asylum. One Dominion admiral married a human baker and opened a food truck in Portland. No one knew how to process it. Especially the Dominion. Gary stood outside the diner one final time, watching the evening sky shimmer as the last visible alien ship turned and vanished. He lit a cigarette. Did we win? He asked quietly. Sandra stood beside him. No one wins something like this. We just survive it. Ravi joined them, holding a hot dog slathered in way too many condiments. They'll never forget us. That's what I'm afraid of. Sandra muttered. Gary exhaled, smoke curling upward. So what now? Sandra shrugged. We go back to normal. Or whatever version of normal we still remember. Gary chuckled. So weird then. Exactly. Up in deep space, the Dominion would become more cautious. More closed. But also, more curious. Centuries later, Earth would become myth. A cursed place. A world where conquerors go to be undone, not by violence, but by jokes. By dancing. By memes. By humanity. The story would spread. They voted to invade Earth. And what came next shattered the Council's confidence. Not because humans fought harder, but because they laughed harder. And in that laughter was the sound of a species that could not be conquered. Only understood. If one dared.